It is all imploding spectacularly, as we said it would. So just let him fight it out. I know, guys. I know it's a real shit show out there. I know. And it feels like we've gone completely off the rails, off script. We're in the bad place. But no. No, this is exactly what Spirit said would happen. I'm going to unpack it for you. But first, your daily dose of Daisy. Hey, girl. So what's happening right now is an intensified period of revelation and awakening, specifically for people on the right, not just the right, but the religious right, the alt-right, and all of those really alt-right, seedy underbelly subcultures. They're being revealed right now for the masses, and the people in them or ancillary to them are having a rude awakening because of all of this. And then on top of it, because of how this administration is bungling it so badly, people are concerned, but it's a distraction. They're not talking about the Epstein. No, it isn't. That may be the right's intention, but it's not working that way. In fact, what it's doing is actually magnifying not only their incompetence, but the lengths they will go to protect the administration at all cost, at the cost of justice. And yes, there is a continued call for the release of all of that information. And those lawmakers who have been putting the wheels into motion are still pressing forward. Just because they're not talking about it doesn't mean they're not doing the thing. So I'm going to break this down a little more specifically to show you, to illustrate it perfectly. And then I'm going to tell you how this fits into what Spirit has told us about this time. So obviously, this very public death has been traumatic for many people. And so people on the right side, whether they are red hats or just Republicans, have been very shocked by this incident, as of course anyone would be. It was, in effect, a public execution, and it was very shocking and traumatic. Now, first of all, trauma almost always precedes an awakening, or more appropriately, trauma provides the opportunity for awakening, as people have been snapped out of their delusions or illusions, and they are now seeing the world for the harshness that it is. Many of us have seen an outpouring of love and support for this man, lauding him as some great hero, and it's been disturbing for those of us who could always see him for who and what he is. It's been disturbing for us to see this cognitive dissonance in them. And so while it felt jarring to us, this is just a revelation of what was already there. Now that these people are being forced to sift through the public discourse, the public conversation about this man, about his actual words, they are having their awakening. Their cognitive dissonance is being forced open right now. They could previously have their illusions about who and what he was because he invoked the name of God. They created a story about who he was. But now the reality of his words and the effects of his actions are now being put on full display. They are going to try to remain in denial, try to keep their narrative together, because that is what humans do when their narrative has been destroyed. They're going to try and do their best to keep it together. But this public discourse is not going away. It's only getting louder. And they are being given every opportunity through this to see the truth through their delusion. And I know I keep using the word delusion, but it's also just a false narrative that they have accepted without question. They haven't thought too much about it. They probably hadn't really thought about this man at all, other than people's talking points about him. He's a free speech guy for the Christian right. They left it at that. Now they're seeing the truth of it. It is unignorable. So now, because of the way he was positioned as this Christian thought leader, and now they're seeing the truth about his rhetoric was anything but Christian, this is not only causing the crack in their political beliefs, but their spiritual and religious beliefs as well. And I am seeing that so poignantly here as a Utah, with what's going on, with how the local government is handling it and the public discourse around it. Most prominently, we've seen Utah Governor Spencer Cox talk about his all-night prayer marathon, hoping it isn't one of our own. And if you think that's disturbing, listen, honey, I'm a lifelong Utahn. That is the culture. That is the culture. He exemplifies Mormon Utah men like nothing you've ever seen. He is holding so firmly to his narrative that Mormons are pure of heart and good and Christian and would never do such a thing. So he's fighting his own cognitive dissonance when it turns out a white Mormon male might have done the thing. So his illusions are being shattered for all the world to see. I am also seeing this as someone who was born and raised Mormon, left the church years ago, but have many friends and family still in the church. They are going through, many of them, this same level of processing. Now, many of them are compartmentalizing. They're not having it. They're not looking at it. But it has begun. The cracks of the foundation have been shown. And the louder this conversation gets, the more that unraveling, the deconstruction is going to unfold for many of these people. Now, what we're also seeing is a very uncomfortable look into the seedy underbelly, as I said, of these alt-right subcultures. This is what Spirit has said all along. We would have a revelation of the shadows of our nation, of these forces, these factions, these subcultures, these ideologies that may not be known in the mainstream, but they are driving forces either beneath the surface or at the corners of these movements. So again, Republicans who've had this delusion that we're just Christians trying to push for the good, they're now seeing what their party is made of and what their talking heads have been promoting and creating. And this is a deeply uncomfortable look for them into the truth, the shadows that they have not been acknowledging. So this is why I say, let them fight it out. They are wrestling with their awakening and their deconstruction, and it's ugly, but unless you want to offer assistance, it's none of our business. We don't have to get tangled in their chaos and their despair. It's going to both fizzle out eventually when it has served its purpose, and it is going to continue accelerating the unraveling of this party, as Spirit said would always happen. We're also seeing the hastening of that with how J.D. Vance and Kash Patel in particular are handling this and are being drawn center stage. It's poetic, I gotta say. Ugly, chaotic, yeah, but again, they are the vehicles of their own undoing. Their own words, their own actions, their own deeds. They are hastening their own demise. And this is also why all along Spirit has said, don't get too attached to the specifics. The overall picture is what will unfold. The variables are always how and when. We have never, for one moment, been off track. Never. It has always been unfolding in the exact way Spirit has shown me that it would. It's a revelation. It's revealing the shadows. It is causing the party to see itself for what it is and for our country to see the nation for who and what we are. And it's causing an awakening, a reckoning, and an implosion of the Republican Party. I will occasionally get a snarky comment from someone saying, "Why didn't you predict that? What do you mean?" And this is why. It's not about the very hyper-specific predictions of what happens when on what day. It's about the overall trend. And then we can see how all of the events happening under this umbrella are facilitating that. Because these are those variables. When we say free will is at play, we never know how it's going to unfold. This is why. The overall energetic trends have been constant, have been consistent. This has been happening all along. Now we're just seeing it take this specific form. And that is why I always say, we're not wrong, we're just early. So you don't have to worry about what they're doing and how they're imploding and what kind of a shit show it is. This is their mess. This is their mess. They need to see it and they need to deal with it. We can keep pushing for what we do want. More transparency in government. Release those fucking files. And all of the good things we want to build in our society. Did you see New Mexico is just giving free childcare? This is amazing. Other states are looking at revamping their healthcare system. This is amazing. So you don't have to watch as the old falls away. You can focus on the new. Let the leopards eat their own faces. That is their business, not ours.